अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। चैतन्यं सर्वगं सर्वं सर्वभूतगुहाशयं यत्सर्वविषयातीतं तस्मै सर्वविदे नमः। So this verse number 2 of chapter 2 talks about the ahankara. How ahankara needs to be understood. What is ahankara? Is it atma or anatma? Is ahankara subject to change or not change? And if you resolve the ahankara, will it come back? So these are the things which is addressed in this verse. The most fundamental question which always have is, ahankara is, what exactly is ahankara? So it is not the feeling that I know everything. It is not that, which is what we commonly, some people think that ahankara means I have this notion. So in simple words, when you say ahankara, it is aham vritti, or it is a thought. A thought that I am is a ahankara. And this I am vritti is something which is very, very fundamental. It is very common, and it is something which you cannot, it just gets up in the morning. When you get up in the morning, early in the morning, the vritti also, aham vritti first wakes up along with you. And it is through this aham vritti only you can actually transact in the living world. The purest form of I cannot be transactable. So the I, which is the innermost essence of everything, is pure consciousness, which cannot be transacted, because for transaction it has to be doing something. The atma, the consciousness, being the nature of akarta, it cannot do any action. But this ahankara is the one which takes the form of, from the consciousness, borrows sentiency from consciousness, and then it sorts of thinks itself as the atma. So it functions as the another version of the atma, and the original atma is left behind. It is kept there, and now the ahankara is the duplicate version, or a copied version, you can say. And this is the one which takes ownership, and due to this ownership, all the subsequent functions, the sensory powers get activated, the sensory body get activated, and then the doership comes in existence, the karta comes in existence. Then the doership, because of the association of this, or the ignorance that he's not really the doer, but the ahankara makes him think that he's doer. So the ahankara makes him think he's a doer, and because of this, the doer forgets the original source from which ahankara came into existence, which is quite logical. This is how, when you start learning, this is how it happens. Later on, when slowly unfolding things, you will understand that ahankara also is an object of knowledge. It's also, it's not a truth. It's also an Atma, which is to be negated. Right? See, Ahankara has got the capacity to say I am. It can always say I am. But Atma cannot say I am. Because Atma has got no attribute. It doesn't have any association by itself. It is just pure Chaitanyam. It is standalone, it's just a witness, a Sakshi you can call. So only the Ahankara has got the capacity to say I am. But you can understand this better when you analyze your Avasthatrayaha, or the three different sleep models. In the waking state, right now, Ahankara is there. As what? As the Pramata, right? As a knower. So we are all Pramatas. Right? So we are all the Pramata means a knower. So the knower is also an Ahankara. Right? So they say, I am listening, or I am writing, I am doing Shravanam. All of them are actually what is an action. And action is done by the Pramata having Ahankara as a Pramata. Correct? So the I notion or the I thought appearing as the knower is the one which is making us do the things. Right? That's what he says here, Aham Dihi Ahankaraha. So the Aham Vritti is the one which is responsible for making us do the actions. But the interesting thing is, the Ahankara is tied together in the mind itself. So the Antakaranam, if you look at it, it's part of the whole process. So you see Antakaranam, the mind, it has got four parts. Manaha, Buddhi, Chit and Ahankara, correct? So the consciousness, when it gets infused, when the Ahankara is infused with consciousness, it takes that form of that particular aspect. And thereby the consciousness also, Chid also takes the same form. If you look at the Dirgdashiveka, Taptaya Pindavat example is that, correct? So Taptaya Pindavat means what? The fire itself is self-illuminous. The fire itself does not do any action or anything. Its nature is to burn. But when the iron ball is brought into the fire, and the iron ball is actually burnt at a high temperature, the iron ball now inherits the quality of the fire. Correct? So the iron ball now becomes luminous. Otherwise, the iron ball, which was very dark in color, heavy in color, and not at all giving light, etc. Now the iron ball has actually become more luminous because the fire has actually infused or lent existence to the iron ball. Now, because of the connection between the fire and the iron ball, the fire also now is seen in the iron ball, correct? So, in the same way, now this iron ball, the same way the body also, assuming that the body is like the insentient iron ball, something like this. So when the Ahankara is infused with consciousness, the body gets sentiency. Right? And the body gets sentiency, the body gets illumined, along with sensory powers, etc. Then it actually illumines the entire objective world. That's why Dirgdashiveka is very good, because Dirgdashiveka gives you the fundamentals of all these things. It talks about very, very fine things. So when you come to this topic here, it is understood already that you already grasped the topics there, and it is just giving an additional instinct into a few things there. Right? So the question is, Aham Vritti is changeless or changing? Aham Vritti is always changing. How? Because in the class now you are a student right now. I am a teacher. After the class is over, you will become a father. So you'll say what? I'm a student, I'm a gardener, I'm a father, I'm a teacher. All these things keep coming and going. Right? But there's one thing which is consistent in all of them is the Chaitanyam of the consciousness, which does not change, but the aspect of the Aham is changing. The I vritti is changing, but the substance is not changing. The substantive I is changing. So whenever you add anything, see that's why the role keeps changing. So the ahamkaraha also has to be negated, or it's not satyam. Then, so idam atma udbhavat means, so this ahankara is rising. Udbhavat means this ahankara is something which is rising. So whenever anything which is rising, that means it was not there before. So that means it's subject to change. Right? Anything which rises has to also to be, it has to fall also. Right? Just like the waves rise in the water, the waves also has to finally fall back into the water itself. Right? So the water doesn't do anything at all. If you look at really, the water doesn't do anything at all. The waves only rise as ahankara. I'm a wave. I'm a small wave. I'm a big wave. I'm a tidal wave. But all these things doesn't affect the water, because all of them are only modified forms of water. The same way, ahankara also, which is I am the father, I am the mother, I am the teacher, I am this rich person, I am a poor person, a tall person, I'm a sad person, happy person. All of them are only modified form of consciousness, which is infusion of the consciousness into ahankara. The ahankara takes that particular form, what you want to see, the vritti takes over, and then that is what is projected, that is what is enjoyed by the karta. So origin of aham vritti is antakaranam. The subject matter also is antakaranam. It's also in the mind. It is not anywhere else. See, the antakaranam or the ahankara is always in the mind itself. It is not going anywhere. The subject also is discussed in the mind, right? And the origin also is in the mind. And the resolving also has to be only in the mind. It cannot go anywhere else. You cannot resolve the ahankara anything other than the mind. Cognitively only you have to discern. Right? You cannot physically remove the ahankara. If somebody says you drop the ahankara or you dissolve the ahankara, it is not possible, because without the ahankara, it cannot be transactable. You will be like a stone. Assuming that if you don't have ahankara at all, what will you do? You cannot do anything. But you'll have to transact. Transaction is important. Vyavarika satta is there. Paramadika satta is there. Then the question may arise, what about previously you had a notion of that you are a samsari, correct? A samsari notion was there. Before you went into the class, you had all this knowledge, etc. Now slowly, due to the reason of studying, etc., you're getting a notion that I'm not a samsari, I am that Brahman, I'm Brahmasmi. You're getting the vision. Now for that vision to take place, old knowledge has to go. Then only new knowledge can take place, correct? You cannot have a situation where you have old knowledge and new knowledge. I am a samsari, at the same time also I am Brahmasmi. It's not possible, correct? It's like saying that I am knowledgeable, I'm also not knowledgeable. Either you are knowledgeable or knowledgeable, you don't have knowledge. You cannot say that I am knowingly ignorant. You can't say this. Either you are ignorant or you know about it. So you should know full about it. Half knowledge also is called ignorance. Correct. Purna jnana means full knowledge. So when you have Purna Jnanam, you'll never say that I don't know. Is it right? You cannot say in Purna Jnanam that I don't know. You will say I know. Because can you negate yourself? Because you have Purna Jnanam about yourself. But when you ask about something else, I do not know, you can say. So there are always options, there are always areas where you know. So that's what it says here. That for anything to be substituted, the notion of the I is resolved, Ahankara resolved. And in that place of samsari, now a new vision called Aham Brahmasmi is installed. The knowledge takes place. So example I can give you also is like the Ahankara is like, see, consciousness is like, a stage. You can see it in a stage, there's a green room, right? The green room is where the artists go and change clothes, right? So you're a dancer or somebody who's a performing artist, they know that the green room, there are lots of dresses available. So the consciousness is like a green room, you can say. It is there. So Ahankara wants to come out. What it is, it actually goes there, takes a shirt, and then comes out, does the act, goes back again in, the shirt is all gone, it becomes one. So it just takes the role of the artist, what is role required, and it just multiplies many times as it is required. But this Ahankara, which is an imposter, is being taken as Satyam. If you don't question this Ahankara, or if you don't question this particular knowledge, it will continue to exist for a very, very long time. And it will enjoy Satta. Means what? Absolute truth. See, in Divya Shivika, I gave an example also. Sometime when I talked long time ago. There is a wedding party. In the wedding party, there are always two people, the bride and the bridegroom, right? So either you can belong to the bride or you can belong to the bridegroom. Or you can belong to both. So there is a person who comes into the wedding. The story, okay, just as I understand. There's a person who comes to the wedding and he claims that he is known to the bridegroom. So he starts to put demands, he starts to behave like, somebody who is a very highly statured person. And the bridegroom, people think that, yes, he's actually a known person here. So they respect him, they give him, more than due respect. And they just want to please him. Right? Then the same person goes now to the other side also, to the boys' side. And the boys side also the same thing. He starts to demand a lot of things. He said, I'm this person, you haven't done this to me, this is nothing. So the boys side think that maybe they belong to the bridegroom, the bride side. So they respect him that way. So both the people who are there, they don't know who this person is. Okay. But this person is acting like somebody known, well known. So our Ahankara is also like this. He is acting like he knows everything, but in reality, he doesn't have astitvam of his own. Right? He doesn't have existence of his own. He has come from somewhere and he doesn't belong to either of them. He doesn't belong either to the boys' party or the girls' party. But somehow he takes ownership of both of them and then he confuses all these confusions creating and actions is creating, making people believe that he belongs to both the parties. So finally they get fed up. They see, do you know this person? The bridegroom. He said, why? Because he's been asking us so many questions. We thought that he belongs to you. Then other person says, no, we thought that he belongs to you. That is why we were treating him for so long. He said, no, we don't know this person. He said, what? So you don't know this person? So from distance, this person is seeing that both people are discussing about him. He gets an idea that this person is being talked about. He quietly slips away. He just walks to the wedding, just goes away. never returned back. Same way here also, when you question the ahankara, when you question that who are you? Are you the consciousness or are you just a ahankara? When you question the ahankara, he gets noticed saying that, oh, so you are questioning existence. So you are questioning where they belong. Yes. So then you start analyzing the truth of everything, right? The ahankara finds its own place. He said, no, I understand that, no, I don't have existence of my own. I'm just, a vritti, I'm a thought coming into your mind, and I was playing with your mind for so long. I made you do a lot of things like this, and I'm really sorry for what I've done. Now I'm going back to my old place. So when he goes back to the old place, the doubt may come from the student. What if I get knowledge? If I become a jnani or if I become a wise person, will the ahankara come back? Will it return again? Correct. See, the question correct. Yeah. Supposing if I become a jnani, wise person, I know all aham brahmasmi, everything is very clear to me. Everything. Is it possible that this ahankara can come back? The answer is no. Because once the ahankara is dissolved, then there's no question of it coming back. Example would be, let us say that you have a snake and the rope example. The rope is there, correct? The rope is illumined by who? By Sakshi or Chidabasaha. Who illumines it? Sakshi or Chidabasaha? It's Chidabasa, correct? So Chidabasa is the one which illumines the rope, correct? Now, I tell that there is a snake in the rope. Now, who illumines this snake? Is it Chidabasaha or Sakshi? This Sakshi, correct? See, Sakshi is the one which illumines to say that no, there is no snake in the rope, there is only a rope, right? See, the Chidabasaha assumes or takes the form because it thinks it is a snake in the rope. Really speaking, there is no snake in the rope at all. Is it correct? But it creates an illusion in your mind, and the mind makes you think that there could be a snake. But Sakshi tells that there is no snake, my friend. The wise person comes and tells, you go and tell a person, oh, I saw a snake in the garden. Then I'm very afraid to go into the garden, backyard. Then the wise person says, come, I will see. He takes a torch. The torch is supposed to be the light of jnana, right? They both go and then they put the light on the rope. And then the wise person says, look, there's only a rope. Where's the snake? So snake was not there before, but the snake appeared to be in the rope because of Chidabasa, correct? Same way, all the pain, the pleasures, or the dukkham, sukham, everything is happening in the physical body or the person because of the ahankara. The ahankara is impostor by which an illusion is created, and due to the illusion, all the actions are being done by the person. And the results are enjoyed by the person. And this person continues to live in this ignorance a very long, long time until a person comes and tells, say a teacher or a guru comes and tells, no, this is not what is this is this. So when you see, when you get jnanam, that there is no snake in the rope, do you again go back and say there's a snake in the rope? Will you? After you get the knowledge that there is no snake in the rope, it is only a rope. So your knowledge about rope is confirmed, correct? The knowledge about snake also is confirmed. It is not there. So there is a question of going back to this again, this problem, correct? So there's no way of going back to the old method of finding out that maybe there is still snake there. When you already established there's no snake there, it's only rope there. You don't have to go and worry again because it is not there. There may be something else you may see. See, it's possible that instead of seeing a rope, you may see some curtain rod, or you may see some line, something you may have vision. But that particular aspect of it, slowly, you eliminate, and then you come to a situation when you don't have any more doubt about it. So the fear of the knowledge getting erased or the old knowledge coming back about the samsari will not come, because you have now got a very firm knowledge about what it is. You have displaced the old knowledge with new knowledge. So the new knowledge has now taken place. So there is no question for the ahankara to come back again and claim its ownership. So it will follow so far. If you don't follow, ask me. Okay. So why I'm telling, because the ahankara is like it's like an actor person. It just keeps doing things, and it makes you believe that yes, see, you are all doing this, you are all doing this, you are all doing this. Yes. It doesn't let you go to the truth. But the moment you start questioning Atma Vichara, correct? Swayam Vicharaha, you start questioning, really, what am I doing here? So what is this ahankara? Who are you? All these questions start inquiring. Then the ahankara, so my God, if somebody is coming and policing, somebody is asking this question. And who is this question being asked? The Pramata, the knower, is asking the questions. And it is on through the Shastram, the Atma Vichara takes place. Using the Mahavakyams, correct? The Mahavakyams tell you are the Brahman. And then you use a lot of examples, methods, prakriyas to arrive at the truth. So once the knowledge is established, then you cannot go back to the old knowledge. See, once snake is gone, there's no way the snake is again going to come back in the rope. Because first of all, there's no snake at all in the rope, number one. It is our own assumption that a snake was there due to our Brahma. Right? So the Chidabhasa is the one which is the ahankara, which is illuminated by consciousness, tells the person that maybe there's a snake there. But then when you go with the knowledge and saying that there's a snake, show me. Says, I saw it just now there. It was just there. Yes, show me, it was just there. Show me it is there. No, it is. So it was on the snake. I saw the rope there. It's really there. So what we'll ask, as a snow, there are two things, where there's snake and rope separately, or one thing. It's only one thing, but the snake got superimposed on the rope, making the appearance two things. So the snake gets resolved in the rope. Rope is Satyam, snake is Mithya. The same way, ahankara also, when resolved into consciousness, ahankara becomes Mithya, Anatma. Atma becomes consciousness of Satyam. Is it clear so far? Okay. So using this explanation and the Dirdishak I told you, I think you should be able to understand ahankara reasonably well. Right. So that's what it says here in this chapter 2, verse 3. So Purva, see, chapter 3. Okay. Purva buddhim abhaditva, nottara jayate matihi. Purva buddhim bhaditva, nottara jayate matihi. Rishireka swayam siddhaha, falatpatsa na bhadyate. So, Purva buddhim. Purva buddhim abhaditva. So the first is called Purva buddhim abhaditva. That means before Purva Buddhi means what? The prior knowledge, correct? Purva Buddhi means prior knowledge. Abhaditva means has to be replaced. Right? So deducted Baditva. So you have to remove the old knowledge for the new knowledge to take place. You cannot have both the same place. You cannot say that I like to be samsari, I'll also like to be brahmasmi also. See, I like to be both. you cannot be in both the boats. Either you say it is possible to be in both boats. I mean, in a different aspect, which will come to that. It is possible to be Aham Brahmasmi and yet you still be in the Vyaharika Satta, it is possible. But we'll have to see how it is possible in this next line. So, Purva Buddhim Abhaditva Uttara Matihi. Uttara Matihi means what? New knowledge. So, new knowledge. Jayate Matihi. See, na Jayate, na Uttara, na Jayate Matihi. Means previous knowledge will not go. Na Jayate Matihi means what? In the mind, the previous knowledge will not go unless you put new knowledge there. You have to put the new knowledge in there. Then only the previous can go. Okay? So you'll have to replace it with new knowledge. Then the old knowledge will go. You cannot remove an old knowledge and just leave it blank. See, you cannot say that I'm not a samsari, and then you just say I'm not a samsari. What does it mean? When you say I'm not a samsari means you have to substitute with say I am Brahmasmi, correct? Then only the samsari vritti will go from here. The samsari vritti still will be there because there is no new knowledge taking place. Right? How will you transact it? That's why Pura Buddhim Abhaditva Uttara Matihi na Jayate Matihi. Then Drishir Ekaha. So Drishi Ekaha means what? The seer is only one. So Drigdashiveka, 3 seers. Seer number 1, seer number 2, seer number 3. But seer number 1, ultimate seer is the only one, consciousness. Everybody else are relative seers. Consciousness or the Atma is absolute seer. The mind is a relative seer. The sensory powers and sensory organs are relative seers. Because they don't have existence independent outside of the consciousness. That's why he says here, Drishir Ekaha, Swayam Siddhaha. So Swayam Siddhaha means what? Self-existing. So you don't need to look for anything there. Swayam Siddhaha means already self-established. Swayam Prakashaha, Swayam Siddhaha, all be the same thing. Swayam Vibhati Anyani Bhasete Sadhanam Bina. That means Swayam Vibhati Anyani means it doesn't need anything else other than itself to show it's a light. Like the sun does not need to be told it's a sun. Same way, consciousness does not need to be told your consciousness. Because knowing is the swarupam of consciousness. It's not an action of consciousness. It doesn't do any action called knowing because knowing is the swarupam of consciousness. Correct? Swarupaha. So Swayam Siddhaha, Swayam Prakashaha. Then Falatvat Saha na Bhadyate. Falatvat Saha na Bhadyate means what? This cannot be negated. Na Bhadyate. Bhadyate means what? Negate. Na Bhadyate means cannot be negated. So Bhadya means what? Reduce or reduce, correct? So na Bhadyate means you cannot negate anything further after this. After you negate or after the new knowledge has taken place and Aham Brahmasmi and Aham Sansari Smriti is already gone, then you cannot negate anything after that. Like you cannot negate saying that I am not Aham Brahmasmi You cannot say this. You are Aham Brahmasmi, you are Aham Brahmasmi. You cannot go anything beyond this. So after Ahankara, what happens? Supposing Ahankara is resolved with this notion that Aham Brahmasmi. So the Ahankara is resolved now as a thought and is resolved in consciousness. Okay, so far? Pushpa, you are able to follow? Okay. So now, still the thought, Pramata is still there. Okay. See, the Pramata is still there because he is still transacting. Right? So the question is the Pramata also to be removed? How he will be transacting? See, with this new knowledge now, which has taken place in the mind, the Pramata will continue to exist as Ahankara. He will continue to be living as Ahankara in a Vyaharika Satta. So he or she will still be doing all the activities in the transactional world, like seeing things, tasting things, eating things, now going out, walking, talking, teaching, going to shops, everything will be doing, because you cannot just say that, oh, I've become a jnani now, so the Pramata is not there, I'm not there. So if you're not there, then who is there? So you still continue to exist. This is what happens in Jnanam. In Jnanam, two things exist continuously. That means you, the Pramata, continues to exist with this Ahankara that yes, for a transactional purpose, I am still the Pramata, Ahankara is still there. But at the same time also understand that I am really not this vritti at all. It is purely only for transaction purpose. Absolutely, I am not really doing this. So this thought is existing in his mind all the time. So what he has done is, from the mind, he has removed the Ahankara. Okay, he has actually removed the Ahankara, replaced it with the knowledge that you are not the Ahankara anymore. I'm just consciousness. Chit is only remaining there. Right? So using of the Buddhi and the Manaha, you have resolved the Ahankara. Right? So what remains? Only Chit remains. Correct? Only consciousness remains. It is only cognitive. Still in the mind, it is still a jumble of everything there. It's still transacting. People are talking to them. See, somebody comes and talks to you, where are you going? Say, I'm Brahmasmi, I'm all pervading. I can go anywhere I want. I'm always there. So, what are you talking about? I'm not talking. So you can't talk like this. Because you have to be practical. Right? Just because you found a new knowledge, some people say, see, I'm a wise person, I'm my knowledge now, I'm knowledge jnani now. So what jnani means, what do? You got two horns? No. They also got two legs. They also got a mouth to feed. They also got things to do. They got to attend phone calls. Everything is there. People are doing transactable. But what is different now has changed between the previous knowledge and now new knowledge. Previously, you are operating in a different world, oblivious to the fact that you are samsari only, correct? Now with this newfound knowledge, you replace the old knowledge, and Ahankara still continues to exist as Pramata, because till you are physically alive, till the body is alive, this will continue to exist. When the body resolves, when the body also goes, Ahankara also goes along with it, correct? Because you do not need anything more after that. What do you need to have the Ahankara? The Ahankara you need only for transacting with the real world, with the objective world, correct? So when you have already resolved the Ahankara, saying that, look, I'm only using this now to transact with the world because I've got a physical body, and the body is supposed to be doing karma, and the karma, Ahankara will make me do karma, which I'm doing. But in reality, I'm not the doer at all from a cognitive perspective. So he distances himself from the absolute perspective. From relative purpose, he's still transacting the world. And this will continue till the person attains Videha Mukti. So once he becomes, he's a Jivan Mukta. See, right now he's Jivan Mukta, correct? He's already free from everything. He doesn't have anything. But when Videha Mukti happens, the body leaves, at that time the Ahankara also will get resolved. because ahankara is more subtle. It's very subtle aspect. So the I thought notion also is dissolved. Thereby, you're left only with consciousness. That's why he says here, Drishireka Ekaha. Drishihi Ekaha. I mean, there's only one seer, one Sakshi, which is Swayam Siddhaha. Then, Falatvat Saha Na Bhadyate. So, after you arrive at the truth of this, you cannot negate anything further. Is it clear? That's why I gave summary before the class. Then this verse is easy to you. It is an example you can give, a seed. Supposing you have a seed at home. The seed has got a potential to grow, correct? You can plant anywhere in the ground or anywhere in the garden, it can grow. Because the seed has always got a potential to sprout. So the seed is the ahankara, correct? Ahankara has got like a seed. It can sprout whenever it wants, provided you give the opportunity to sprout. But the same seed, you now fry in hot pan. Just keep frying, and then you go and plant it. Will it grow? Don't. Because what you've done is you have removed all the essence of the seed, its potency of growing by the fire. And fire is supposed to be what? Knowledge. So in the fire of knowledge, you have resolved or you actually fried the ahankara. So when the ahankara is fried, there's no question of the sprouting anymore. So even if you put the seed which you are talking about in the ground also, it will remain in that form only, it will not grow anything. Nothing will happen to it. Because, it cannot go against some other. It's not possible because you have taken out all those things which is required for it to sprout. It is now as good as you have actually pretty much limited or you have annihilated the process. You have just said like ahankara, you don't have any place anymore. You have made it very, very useless for the ahankara to exist anymore. So it will not come again to you. The knowledge which you got now, you will not again go back to the same concept saying that, see, I was actually a very, very knowledgeable person 10 years ago. I was studying Didishivika, studying all these things. Upon that, I was very, very knowledgeable now. Now, I'm a samsari now. This is a problem. It is because either the person hasn't understood what was said by the teacher, because whatever is said by the teacher, there should also be capacity of the student to understand. Correct. So the student doesn't have the capacity to understand or has to understand the right perspective, then the teaching will not be effective. The teaching can be effective when the mind also is connected in that aspect. That you're also interested and you're also making an effort to improve. You're making an effort to discover. Those things are there. If it becomes only an academic exercise, right? Just come and make notes and then just write elaborative notes, everything there. It remains in the form of notes. And somebody says, oh, elaborate notes, big notes, page book. But then under the masala is not will not be understood. Correct. So you do not need to have elaborate notes and hundreds, thousands of notes, but you should have enough capacity for retain, assimilate, and keep transacting. Right? So that is how the jnani transacts in the world. The jnani transacts in the world using the ahankara for only vyavaharika satta, transactional purpose only. In absolute purpose, he has got no ahankara because he understands that his ahankara which is there, which is transacting, is only for the purpose of transaction only. And I will be doing this till such time my physical body is there, which will make me do karma. It will do that. You cannot say that I will not sleep because Atma is akarta, Atma tunga devrinanchko. You got to say that because the physical body is there, it has to go to sleep. Physical body is not thala valikkum, mukku kashtam padum, all these things will happen. Your body also will age. You cannot say Atma is, Anadi, it is never born, Ajaha, Abhayaha, Amaranaha. It means what? It's all cognitive thing. Words are only an expression to say certain things. But the words doesn't himself indicate the final truth. Right? So that's what it says here. That Pura Buddhim Abhaditva Na Uttarana Jayate Mati. Then Drishir Ekaha Swayam Siddhaha Falatvatsa Na Bhadyate. Is it clear, this verse? Shankar, is it clear?
Yes.
So now Ankara question clear? Last class what happened?
Definitely, yes.
Definitely. Pushpaji, is it clear to you?
Yes.
Okay. Subbu, is it clear?
Yes, Shankar, no problem.
Srikanji from New Zealand, are you okay so far?
Yes, sir, it's good.
Okay. So now, the fourth verse is just a story. It's a story given just to lighten up the Ahankara topic. So the story is given here briefly. It is from the Chandogya Upanishad, section 14. 6th chapter, section 14. You can write down Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 6, section 14. In that, there is a story of a person who is from a city called Gandharaha. So Gandharaha was a city in the olden days, and now it is called Kandahar in Afghanistan. So the Gandharaha of the city is part of India, which due to various reasons now is called Kandahar. It is in Afghanistan. And in those days also, in Gandhara also, kidnapping was prevalent. That city was very famous for kidnapping. In Afghanistan also, today you can see the same thing happen. So nothing really has changed. because the whole city is same thing. People are coming and going, same things are continuing, right? So we don't need to generalize now. But the story says like this. So there was a person he was walking along in the forest. And some kidnappers, they took his belongings and then they took him deep into a forest and they tied him with ropes, blindfolded him into a tree, and they left him there. So this person now does not know where he is. And he tries himself to free himself, wriggling himself from the tree, but somehow the knot doesn't come through. Then he shouts, "Can somebody hear me? Is somebody there? Can somebody help me?" One wise person comes along somewhere. He hears, "Who is this shouting from somewhere?" He says, "I am shouting from here." So he traces the sound of the person's calling. Then he comes in front of him, touches the person, the wise person. Then he starts to, tears fall from his eyes because he has already reconciled to the fact that he is not going to be rescued. He's not going to be freed. He's going to die like this. But then when the wise person comes and then he tells him that, he removes the blindfold, it removes everything, and then it tells him, now, what do you want to do? He said, "I want to go back to my city, Gandhara." So he says, "Okay, you want to go like this, you have to go this direction, go straight, go left, then you'll find a board. Then if you find the board too far, don't go that far. Turn left before that." So all instructions are given. So in the olden days, there was no map. So everything was registered in the mind. Right? So this person remembers everything what he was told by the wise person. He In the mind itself, he retracts the steps, he follows what has been told by repeatedly analyzing the information he has got. He looks at things, stops, analyzes, then he walks back, he turns right, left, then he follows everything. Finally, he goes back to a city called Gandhara. So he's very safe. Same here also. The forest here is called the body. The forest is called a body, correct? And the body is made of different things. It's got flesh, it's got blood, it has got, so many parts which are there, correct? So these are called the wild animals, right? And the wild animals are what? Inside the body, the Shad Ripuhu. 6 afflictions called Kamaha, Krodha, Moha, Lobha, Mada, Matsaryam. So the Shingampuli avasame kadayadu. Namakku vandu இதுவே Shingampuli தான். This itself is like a tiger and bear for us. Because we deal with this every day. They come and attack you, they come and bite you, they come and prick you all the time. They make you suffer. The physical world, there is different. But in the physical body, these elements are there. Correct? They are all called wild animals. Then, the thieves are called Punyam and Papam. So what do? They take you and bind you. Like Punya Papam Mishraha. So in Punya and Papam, what they do, they actually tie you with this pasam called Punyam and Papam. Idupanna Punyam, Idupanna Papam. So then you got all these things, Kama, Krodha, everything is there. So these things they tie you. Correct? So in the same way, the person, the robber the person who got kidnapped as a robber and tied to the tree, the same way, we are also in this forest called the body. The Atma or the consciousness somehow ulla apdiye maatintattu. It is now stuck in the body somewhere there, and it is going through enormous amount of trouble. This person, he cries, saying that I am not able to tolerate this pain. I am not able to handle this pressure anymore. The whole world is plotting against me. I am suffering from everything. He cries for help. And he cries for help because number one is he's sincere about crying also. See, Pulamballa kuda nalla pulambal irukku, very important. When you're a proper Pulambananda, then you will get good teacher. Right? So the grace of the Bhagavan is there because he is now appearing that like, please help me, please help me, please help me. So there is a sincere prayer in him, and then the guru or the teacher comes in front of the person, and he or she is a person who unties the knots mentally. Physically, you're not bound. You're all free. You can walk around now anywhere you want. So what we do is we just remove the knots from your mental aspect. Slowly, you're not a bound person, my friend. You are just emotionally bound. I'm going to remove you emotionally free, make you free. Correct? So when the emotional freedom is achieved, then the person is very happy. The old person is already gone anymore. So what does the Guru says? You follow this teaching, follow this methodology, Shravanam, Maranam, Nididhyasanam, keep following it, and you will definitely reach your goal. And then the teacher disappears. And some of the students come, some other person goes, life continues. Correct? Now, the student doesn't understand what the teacher has said, or there is a communication in the way the students understood, then it is possible that he will get stuck, he will be lost somewhere. Correct? So yes, again go back to the same teacher, again relearn everything, get corrected, and then again get to the right destination. So this verse emphasizes the importance of the Guru, emphasizes the importance of not learning just by himself or herself, because by himself or herself the person is not capable of freeing himself. See, if the person who was tied to the tree in the story was capable of freeing himself, then he would not need anybody else. He would have, okay, you take me wherever I want, I'll come back. I know. Because he already knows how to get himself free. So even if you are led to some other place, your knowledge is very firm. So you're not worried about, where I go or how I live. You already have the knowledge that I can come back. I'm always this. So I do not need to be worried about anything. This person, because is related to the same as Ajnanis. So the Ajnanis is the one who is kidnapped by his Ahankara and forced to live in the body like this and made to think like this, suffer like this, bound by Punyam and Papam, they are thieves, then which actually you will not be able to come back to the original track. So the Shastram of the Guru guides a person step by step and saying, okay, now I'm removing this, I'm removing this one, I'm removing a blindfold now you see. So you're able to see now clearly, then if you follow what I'm saying, you'll be able to get to the destination. Correct. So Shraddha is important, Shravanam is important, words in the Shastram is important, and commitment is important. So this is what is emphasized in this particular verse, which we'll go through now. So this small verse. Idam vanam atikramya, idam vanam atikramya, shoka moha vidushitam, shoka moha vidushitam. Banat gandharako yadvat, banat gandharako yadvat, swa atmanam pradipadhyate, swa atmanam pradipadhyate. So idam means here. Okay. Idam vanam atikramyaha means this forest having been transcended. Correct? Or one has to transcend this forest. What forest talking about? Shokaha moha moham. So shoka moha adihi means etc. So the Shad Ripuhu I told you, right? Shokaha moham means what? The kamaha, krodaha, moham, lobham, madam and matsarya. So Ripuhu means enemy and the 6 afflictions which are bothering a person all the time. So shoka moha adi dushitam. Right? So his body is infested with these 6 dushita means infested with all these 6 different afflictions. Just as the person vanaha vanat gandharaka tadvat, just like the person who is stuck in the forest, the gandharaha person who is stuck in the forest, and once he is made to be made free by the wise person, he goes back to his original city called Gandharaha. Happy person lives happily forever. He forgets, he doesn't want to go back to the forest, saying that let me go back and see again, let somebody kidnap me again. I want to be again tied to the forest and somebody wise man will come and give me. No, he doesn't want to think. Why does he want to do that? Because knowledge has established, he's already attained the destination. He doesn't need to go back and retrack as to whether what I learned is correct or not. He doesn't need to, because what you learned is already correct. You have attained the destination. Jnana mandachu. Jnana vandappuram doubt varakudadu. The jnanam correct jnanama thappa irukka doubt varakudadu. Because you have established this correct. So that's why it says swa atmanam pradipadyate. Correct. So likewise, a person discovering the true self reaches the destination. Pradipadyate. Padyate means padyate anena iti padam. That which takes you is called padam. Padyate anena iti padam. Pradipadyate. That which is revealed, that which is known to you is called swa atmanam. So idam vanam atikramyaha shoka mohadi dushitam. vanad gandharakaha yadvat so atmanam pratipadyate. Is it clear? So with this, I completed chapter 2. I thought chapter 2 will be easy, but chapter 2 took more time. So the next chapter is going to be called, I'm not going today, don't worry. It's called Ishwaratma Prakaranam. Ishwaraha Atma Prakaranam. That means, is Jiva and the Paramatma, are they different? Are they same? Who is God? How do we know God? Is the question. So Jiva, Ishwara Atma Prakaranam. Okay. So only 4 verses are there, which we'll see in next class. So if you got any doubts or anything that in this class, let me know, or you can write on WhatsApp or talk to me as well. But I'm pretty sure I explained, there's more clarity. You have definitely understood what Ahankara is, what Chidabhasa is, what Chit is. Right? So do you got something to say, Subramanian?
No, very clear, Shankar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Singapore, you okay? Om Purnamadah Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Namaste Shubhratri. So we'll see some of you in the Gita class tonight. Okay.
Thank you. Pranam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.